She utterly hated Burt Reynolds. Now we know the reason why. Amanda Blake was born Beverly Louise Neal on February 20, 1929, in Buffalo, New York, was an iconic American actress best known for her role as Miss Kitty Russell on the long-running television western Gunsmoke. She became a beloved figure in American television history through her portrayal of the feisty yet compassionate saloon owner, which lasted for over 19 years. Blake's contribution to television is not only measured by her longevity in the role but by the depth and complexity she brought to a character who, in a lesser actress' hands, might have been a simple stereotype. Her portrayal of Miss Kitty became a pivotal part of Gunsmoke's success, which made it one of the longest-running primetime shows in TV history. Before her career-defining role on Gunsmoke, Blake had a passion for acting that emerged early in her life. Her love for performing was evident when she was a young girl, participating in school plays and dreaming of a career on stage. After graduating from high school, she briefly attended Pomona College, but the lure of Hollywood was too strong to ignore. Blake left college to pursue acting full-time, a bold move that soon paid off. In the early 1950s, she made her way to Hollywood, where her striking beauty and undeniable talent began opening doors for her. She initially appeared in a number of small roles in films, including Stars in My Crown, 1950, and Cattletown, 1952. These early roles, while modest, helped establish her as a rising star in Hollywood. Amanda Blake's career truly took off in 1955 when she was cast as Miss Kitty on Gunsmoke, a role that would become her signature. Gunsmoke was groundbreaking, setting the standard for TV westerns with its mature storytelling and complex characters. As Miss Kitty, Blake played the proprietor of the Long Branch Saloon in Dodge City, Kansas. Her character was fiercely independent, kind-hearted, and tough as nails, qualities that made Miss Kitty a memorable and beloved character for viewers. What set Blake's portrayal apart was her ability to give Miss Kitty layers beyond the standard saloon girl trope. While it was subtly implied that Miss Kitty was more than just a saloon owner, Blake never allowed her character to be reduced to a simple caricature. She infused Kitty with depth, compassion, and a sense of dignity, creating a strong female figure that resonated with audiences. The relationship between Miss Kitty and U.S. Marshal Matt Dillon, played by James Arness, was central to the show, with their unspoken romantic tension becoming one of the most enduring aspects of Gunsmoke. Blake's commitment to the role was profound, and she remained with the show for 19 seasons until 1974. Her departure came just one season before the series ended in 1975, a decision she made to focus on other aspects of her life, particularly her dedication to animal welfare. After leaving Gunsmoke, Amanda Blake's focus shifted away from acting and toward her philanthropic efforts, particularly in the area of animal rights. She became heavily involved in the movement to protect wildlife, especially big cats. Alongside her third husband, Frank Gilbert, she founded one of the first successful programs for breeding cheetahs in captivity. Blake was passionate about conservation and animal welfare, and she used her fame to raise awareness about these causes. Her involvement in animal rights earned her widespread respect beyond Hollywood circles. In 1988, she received the American Cancer Society's Courage Award in recognition of her contributions to animal welfare and her efforts to fight cancer, a cause close to her heart. Her commitment to animal advocacy was unwavering, and she spent much of her post-Gunsmoke life actively involved in campaigns to protect endangered species. Her home became a refuge for various animals, and she worked tirelessly to promote conservation efforts, often appearing at fundraising events and lending her voice to campaigns. Amanda Blake's disdain for Burt Reynolds was well known among those familiar with both actors and their time on the set of Gunsmoke. Though the reasons for her animosity were complex, it was clear that Blake's dislike for Reynolds ran deep and lasted for years. Both actors were key figures in the popular Western series, but behind the scenes, their relationship was far from friendly. Blake, who played Miss Kitty Russell, the saloon owner with a strong, independent spirit, was a veteran on the show, while Reynolds joined the cast as Quint Asper, a half-Comanche blacksmith, for a relatively short stint. At the heart of Blake's issues with Reynolds was a clash of personalities. Amanda Blake, known for her professionalism and dedication to her role, took her work on Gunsmoke seriously. She had been part of the show from its inception and had established herself as a respected member of the cast. Burt Reynolds, on the other hand, was younger and had a more lighthearted, sometimes irreverent attitude on set. He was charming and full of humor, but this laid-back approach sometimes came across as disrespectful to Blake, who preferred a more focused working environment. Blake likely resented Reynolds for his casual attitude, interpreting it as a lack of seriousness toward a show she had invested so much in. To her, Gunsmoke was more than just a job. It was an important part of television history, and she expected others to treat it with the same reverence. Reynolds' approach, while endearing to some, seemed to undermine the professional atmosphere Blake valued. Furthermore, Reynolds' rising popularity may have caused tension. As Reynolds' career began to take off during his time on Gunsmoke, it's possible that Blake saw him as a threat, worried that his growing fame might overshadow her own role in the series. In interviews years later, Reynolds admitted that Blake had never liked him and that the feeling was mutual. He recalled that Blake had a no-nonsense attitude, while he was more inclined to joke around. The tension between them was palpable, even to others on set. Their animosity was something that couldn't be ignored, and their off-screen friction often contrasted sharply with the camaraderie shared by other cast members. It's worth noting that Blake's dislike for Reynolds wasn't an isolated incident in the world of Hollywood feuds. Many actors have found themselves at odds with one another due to conflicting work styles or competing egos. In Blake's case, her role as Miss Kitty was integral to the fabric of Gunsmoke, and any disruption to the harmony she felt should exist on set likely intensified her feelings toward Reynolds. Despite their differences, both actors remained professionals in front of the camera, never letting their personal feelings toward each other affect the show. However, the tension between them was never fully resolved, and even after Reynolds left Gunsmoke, the memory of their strained relationship lingered. For Amanda Blake, Burt Reynolds represented an unwelcome presence during a time when she was at the height of her career, and for Burt Reynolds, Amanda Blake was an obstacle to the fun, carefree atmosphere he preferred to create on set. Their mutual disdain serves as a reminder that even in the world of television, where actors often portray close-knit relationships, the reality behind the scenes can be far more complicated. Blake and Reynolds' feud remains a fascinating footnote in the history of Gunsmoke, illustrating the very human conflicts that can arise even in the midst of Hollywood success. In the 1980s, Amanda Blake's health began to decline. She was diagnosed with oral cancer, a battle she fought with immense courage. Despite this, she continued to advocate for causes she believed in, particularly in the realm of animal welfare. Tragically, Blake passed away on August 16, 1989, at the age of 60. Her death was initially reported as being due to cancer, but it was later revealed that complications from AIDS were a contributing factor, likely contracted from her fifth husband, Mark Spieth, who had died of AIDS in 1985. Her death brought attention to the growing AIDS crisis at the time, which was still a taboo subject for many in the public sphere. Amanda Blake will forever be remembered as a trailblazer in many respects. She was a strong, independent woman who broke boundaries on screen with her portrayal of Miss Kitty, a character that challenged traditional gender roles of the time. Off-screen, she demonstrated the same kind of strength and independence, using her fame for the greater good through her advocacy for animal rights and her courageous battle with illness. Her contributions to both television and society are enduring. As Miss Kitty, she gave audiences a role model of kindness, strength, and resilience. As a philanthropist, she left behind a legacy of compassion and dedication to animal welfare that continues to inspire to this day. Amanda Blake was a true pioneer, whose life and work touched countless people, both human and animal, and whose memory remains vivid for fans of Gunsmoke and advocates for wildlife conservation alike.